And that is my first century complete, 100.1 miles. Took way longer than expected. We went super slow, but damn, I have a lot of thoughts. I kind of just want to shower right now. And we're back. Probably one of the slowest centuries that have ever been done. I think the total time was 9 hours and the moving time was 7.5 hours, average speed 13. Really not good, but for a century, I'm happy, and I have several thoughts. First of all, why did I do the century? So a century is 100 miles on a bike. The reason I did it was because with COVID, with stay at home, I definitely was going stir crazy. In end of April or early May, it probably got the worst, where I was like, this is just, I'm not happy. I did a trip to Monterey and I spent 5 days in Monterey and being, at this hotel by the ocean, and it was awesome. And I felt so much better afterwards. And then I came back to Vegas and said, okay, what I'm realizing is that despite having, structured routines with exercise and FaceTime with friends and all these other things, I don't like being stuck in just one place. Because when I'm in Vegas, I'm usually at my apartment, and sometimes I'll go cycling, and sometimes I'll explore a little bit, but I just don't like being stuck in one place. This trip was essentially my learnings from that Monterey trip. Like, okay, getting out of Vegas makes me happy. So I came here with a buddy. We drove up from Las Vegas yesterday. We spent the night at the hotel. This morning we set off. Thought it was gonna take 5 or 6 hours, and it took closer to 9. And then now, we're gonna get dinner, spend the night here again, and then drive back tomorrow. I'm also planning on doing another trip in a couple of weeks, going to California again, just to kind of, again, switch things up and keep my sanity in check, for lack of other words. Now, as for my thoughts after this century, first, I think preparation is important, but at the same time, I don't think it's good to over-prepare. I remember this one trip, I was presenting some plastic surgery research in Hawaii a few years back, and I had this whole day planned out around the Big Island where I would see every site and go to the Volcano National Park, and the whole thing took me like 17 hours. I was exhausted, and I ended up being more drained after the vacation, and ever since then, I planned on always being really spontaneous and not planning things when I go on vacation, because I just want to let things unfold, serendipity. And with something like cycling, I don't think that's necessarily the best way of approaching it, because you want to have a route in mind. The route we have, I personally don't like riding on busy roads, or rather roads that have cars where there's a large delta between my speed and their speed. So I'm going, 15, 20 miles an hour, and they're going like 60, because the chance of a fatal accident goes way up. So we planned a route where we were mostly on these protected bike paths. And I mean, we were on the roads a little bit, but not too much. So that was one part of planning. The other thing is actually having a game plan for your nutrition. So I went with my friend, and I asked him, hey, what's your plan? And he's like, oh, I'm gonna eat when I'm hungry, like I'll drink when I'm thirsty, it's not a big deal. And he's done this a lot more than I have. He did 200 miles in a single day when he was in his 20s. I've never done anything more than 40 or 45 miles until today. So going from 40 or 45 all the way to 100 was a big jump. So I did some research beforehand, and I was like, okay, I need to be eating around 200 calories every hour, and I wanna have this much liquid. I should get some electrolyte replacement towards the end of the ride. And for the most part, I was doing pretty good for the most of the ride, except at miles 60 to 70, I was just hitting the wall. And I wasn't able to keep my same pace. And my friend actually was able to pull ahead of me a little bit. Around mile 75, I got a second wind, and then I was just juiced for the rest of the ride. I could have kept riding past 100, I had so much more energy. My friend, on the other hand, he just hit the wall at mile 75 or 80, and then it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And I think looking back, the difference was that because I was being pretty regular with my nutrition, I wasn't getting super hypoglycemic or my glycogen stores being completely depleted. And he, on the other hand, he had a big breakfast at Denny's in the morning, then he had a hot dog in the middle of the day, and then had a couple bars here and there. But I didn't have breakfast. I just had bar in the morning, bar in 1 hour, bar an hour after that. I just kept having bars. I had, a Gatorade. And I think that preparation came through. Again, I'm not an expert. These are just my initial thoughts. So I guess the main point I'm trying to get at is preparation is key in certain things in your life, but you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to over prepare. You don't want to be overly ambitious. Kind of like that Hawaii vacation where I was exhausted and I vowed to never do that again. In this situation, I think having certain things planned, but maybe being open for some spontaneity, maybe have the best of both worlds. The last thought I want to share with you guys is the idea of being content with what you have. I've had this bike. This is my first ever road bike. I got it first year of med school, 2012. It's like the lowest level specialized that you can get. It was $700 brand new, which is cheap for a road bike. I know that sounds very expensive. The group set is very basic, not good at all. The bike isn't the lightest. At the same time, the thing that's limiting me isn't my bike, it's me. And my friend actually has a really expensive full carbon bike with electric shifters or wireless shifters and carbon fiber wheels, and it's super fancy. But normally when we ride, I'm actually usually in front of him. And today as well, by the end, I was setting the pace and I had to, wait for him. So I'm not saying there's anything right or wrong with upgrading the things you have, but sometimes I feel like there's almost pressure for me to get a better bike because I would be faster, because it would be more comfortable to go carbon rather than aluminum, because, maybe I've seen this bike for the last 8 years and I want to look at something new. But at the same time, I feel like that's a slippery slope. And I think it's more worthwhile for me to just be content with what I have and try to maximize it, because that bike is not holding me back. I am holding the bike back, if anything. All right, guys, that's it. I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm gonna go eat. Much love. See you guys in the next one.